Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, so here we got Bitcoin. I'm on the Bitstamp chart. We're looking at the 4-hour currently. And as you can see, we've basically just been floating sideways throughout this range for quite some time. We were starting to put in a flat bottom, especially when you look at it on the daily, but now it's becoming even more and more evident that we are basically just running into the moving average here repeatedly and getting rejected. And essentially what it looks like is going to happen to me, it looks like we're going to consolidate here long enough and then finally get a burst to the upside, breakout from this moving average, and then potentially pop up as high as I would like to see at least obviously the 89 at 10,635, but more realistic, the 200 exponential moving average looks like the primary target, like 10,885. We could see as high of a push up as the simple moving average at 11,270, although I think that's a lot less likely. But it is a nice little percentage if we do get a little burst up here. We are basically at the top of the range, getting ready to cross the Jewel Thief back to the upside, potentially. The knife is sticking up here already, so that would just imply that we're going to get this breakout move to the upside, essentially like top out here in the very near future, re-enter the distribution zone, and then get the sell-off. We are obviously blue slope on the TJD TD histogram is green and going to the upside, so it looks like continuation is more likely than not here. If we just switch it on over to the daily, just get like a little more of a clear picture. We had that flat bottom support, basically like bunch of wicks getting bought back up. Just leads me to believe that distribution is still taking place, and then we're going to get that push up before markdown. More likely than not, you know, looking at the longer time frame on the daily here, you're seeing the exact same thing happening. We left the buy zone down here, going back to the upside. We'll eventually get like a curl back up, and then I think we'll get rejected and get the final push back down. Same with the histogram. We're getting a couple greens in a row, signaling a buying signal, but you know, typically we'll get that push up and then rejection before we get like the actual move, and then finally you'll see right now like the 50 exponential and the 55 exponential and the 21 exponential come in at like 10.8 as well, 10.780, and that's going to line up perfectly with the parabolic SAR coming down here. So I think more often than not we'll get that range. I don't know if we'll get all the way up here to the simple moving average, the 50 at 11,250, but it could come up as high as that before we get the rejection. But you'll see actually like you'll see actually a lot of similarities and correlation with exactly what happened right here. We basically sell down, we made it all the way to the 200 moving average, got picked up, and then we come up, try and defend the cross between the 21 and the 55 exponentials, almost make it back up to the simple 50 moving average, but we failed to do so, and then we get that capitulation dump. And again, it's the same type of thing. You know, we're basically getting like the hard buy out of the accumulation zone. We're getting multiple histograms. The slope is still red. We're still at the bottom of the range. The knife is sticking up, and then we basically get rejected. And that's exactly what I would see happening here too. You know, we're basically red slope line, getting multiple histograms in a row. We get the pop up, we come up as high, try to defend the cross, maybe even get as high as the simple moving average, and then get rejected and sell back off. Although here I think it's less likely to happen that we get this high as far as like that 11.2 range, but it is still possible. We'll see what happens. You know, obviously this is a counter trend trade. A burst back up you know, is against the overall trend, which in this case is down on the daily once we cross these moving averages over to the downside. And then we can just throw a simple fib retracement from the top of the range right here to our bottom that we put in so far, and that can just see where those targets line up as well. And once again, you'll see the 382 comes in perfectly here, the 0.5 is right there in between, and then the 618 is essentially going to be like the retest of the breakdown area, and also that would line up perfectly with the 50 simple as well. So I don't think that this range like 11.4 is out of the cards. I don't think it's as likely, but at this point in time, it looks like price action is getting marched back up. We're going to get a strong, powerful move to the upside. Saturdays are typically bullish. Spot markets obviously are open. Traditional markets are closed. Traditional markets care less about direction and you know, just more about making money, as where spot markets, you know, people are typically overall bullish for the asset, which is why they're in Bitcoin. They're believers. They believe in crypto. All that fundamental stuff just tends to like cloud their view. So typically Saturdays we will get a nice burst up, and then eventually like sell off, and Sunday will come back into line with the close from futures, which is going to be more in like that 10.3, 10.350 range, I believe. I'd have to go back and look. So, and if we just flip over to Ethereum real quick, we'll see the same exact things taking place. It's sort of just jumping the gun. It's already up to the 200 exponential. Could get up here as high as the 200 simple as well. That's going to come in at that 396 range. And then, once we get the actual pop up here, what we're looking to do is enter shorts from the, exhaustion levels. So, rather than trading against the trend, we are just riding some of our spot positions up. We'll distribute some of that spot as well that we purchased down at the bottom, and then we can put in our actual shorts and take on a modest amount of leverage, and really capitalize on the way down. And then once we feel like we've bottomed back out and the trend starts reversing and we start getting our mathematically measurable signals from the market, our consistent basically signs, signals, indicators, oscillators, support levels, exhaustion, all lining up, we can take a educated trade from there, rather than just hoping and guessing like everyone else is doing in these markets. So I would expect another push up here. I will be looking for short positions with the group as well, and then we can go from there. And obviously, looks like we can get a push right up here. We're getting the cross already right now. Get another one of these type deals, another one of these type deals, maybe develop a little divergence, maybe get back into the distribution range, and then we can take a nice short, and basically, I don't like to pick the tops all the time, but in all reality, it's obviously way better to be shorting from up here than it is to just be shorting from down here, or the people that were late to the short party trying to short through this range. So when obviously we're finding support and then consolidating at a moving average, whether you're on top of it or on bottom, if you're on top of it and it's holding, it's going to act as support in the same way that if you're below it and it's holding, it's going to act as resistance. But it doesn't mean that you can't just burst through it when the time is right. The longer you spend at that moving average, the more likely it is to break in that direction. So crypto trend trader, little update on the markets, and I'm out of here.